Is this okay, Dad?
No, it's not okay. Hey, does this look like home to you guys? No. Hey.
Where are you going from that here?
Smoking on that stamp special. Think of all the time on our hands.
What's up, Kyle? Alright. Yo! Alright. Welcome. What's up, Kyle? Kyle in the building. It's episode 2, DEADASS NoCap. It's a 2-week podcast, but today is going to a little Christmassy theme to it. So, got some waitress gave you pajamas. Some waitress gave you pajamas. Yeah, so, what's up, dude? Yo, Kyle. So yeah, basically, today we're going to be talking about the 1994 holiday classic, The Santa Clause. Quick note, I had a poll up on my Instagram story about basically what I should cover, and I was thinking about doing Disclosure, a really dark fucking Michael Douglas, fucking Barry Levinson movie. Quick note about that. I just want to say, and these movies actually came out around the same time, like fall and December of 1994. So, yeah, quick note about that. And also, The Santa Clause honestly touches theme of this, even though it's a Disney movie. But don't you guys miss the best time in society? It was like the 90s when, just all the guys were the bosses and they could just, slap the secretaries' asses if they wanted to. Nobody cared. It was actually a plot point in that movie, which is the best in Disclosure. It was actually like him slapping a secretary's ass actually almost became his downfall. But anyway, I digress. Back to the Santa Clause. We're actually in the first scene. They make a joke about that too. He's like, but most of our families aren't here right now. That's why Johnson's secretary is sitting in his lap. And it's like some guy playing Santa and like a hot girl like sitting atop, and everyone like is like, So yeah, wasn't that a fun time? One could just like openly, no one gives a fuck about that. It's the best. Basically, if you've been, living under a rock for the last 20 years, this movie stars Tim Allen, and he's fresh, in the middle of his home improvement heyday. I don't think so, Tim. And he's just kind of bringing his like Midwest, like dumb, guy, like, like, or how do you do that? Like, that's a terrible Tim Allen, but that's a little better. You know what I mean? But it was a lot of those like grunts, like grunt comedy. Remember when grunt comedy was a thing? So basically, Tim Allen is Father of the Year. This is a movie within another subgenre of the 90s was the bad dad. And basically, yeah, dads in the 90s were shitty. And it was the best time to be a bad dad because they were all divorced and all the moms were remarried, and like usually we'll get to him, but Judge Reinhold plays the he plays the stepdad, and he's like a psychiatrist. He's not a doctor, he's a psychiatrist, and he charges you for it. But and the best part is that Tim Allen basically, I gotta say this, and this is, doesn't have anything to do with it. It kind of has something to do with the movie. The best part, there's a lot of best parts, but we'll get to them. I'm kind of going off the dome here. This was a childhood favorite, so watching it I've watched it kind of yearly. I've watched it last year and I watched it again a couple days ago, but you start to pick up on things as you get older, as you get wiser, and you start to see the whole like subtlety of his performance. It's so nuanced. Thesantaclause, Père Nicole. So yeah, the first scene, he's he's a bad dad. He's at the company Christmas party. He looking like normal, like a normal dude, and then he's racing home. He's like lying to his ex-wife about why there's like so much traffic and he's late, and like it's very much like they try to do it in they try to do something similar in Jingle All the Way, where Arnold is like, I'm going to make it to Jamie's recital. He's like, I'm not going to make it to Jamie's recital. And then, the karate recital or whatever. Different movie, but, same thing. So he's like, driving down the snowy, like, Cleveland, the I-95 or whatever. And, he's like 12 car pile up. And, so he races home, like, and you start to see all the kids in the movie, and, like, some of them have, like, pointy ears. You're like, what the fuck is all this? You notice like all like Charlie's friends are like elves or some weird shit. Kyle, what are you saying? Wait. When the dad has one redeeming moment to make up for the years of neglect. Exactly. He was never there for for Charlie. Played by Eric Lloyd of Dunstan Checks In fame. Everybody remember that movie where he his dad was like George Costanza, and his best friend is a monkey. God, the 90s were such a fun time. So, yeah, basically, he gets home, to his house, like meeting the mom and Neil, and they're dropping off Charlie, and Charlie is just so... The neighbors... the neighbor fucking his wife. Kyle's chiming in. He says, because the neighbor's about to fuck his wife. Isn't that in Jingle All the Way with Phil Hartman? He's like, Phil Hartman is the neighbor that fucks all the wives in the neighborhood. He's like, and it's nestled right under the tree. Exactly. Yeah. We're thinking of the same. Yeah, we are digressing on the same movie. These cookies, your wife's cookies are out of this way. Those are my cookies, no! Just Arnold getting mad is like having to take, like, eating Panda Express, like, no! My stomach! I got to go to the bathroom! Same thing. Yeah. So basically, Tim Allen comes home. He's like, trying to cook like this big turkey dinner, and he fails. He's like 4 hours, and then so he just like burns it. He's like spraying the oven, and he basically he fails. His first dad fail is not being able to cook the dinner, of course, and then so he tries to take Charlie to all these restaurants. And he was like, "Oso buco." And then he's like, pulls into the Denny's parking lot. He's like, Denny's. And I'm like, I don't want it. He's like, it's an American institution. Cut to table full of Japanese guys saying like, oh, like really over the top, like 90s, like you knew they were just like, there was a casting call and they were like, you guys have no lines except to be at this table and sound as Japanese as you can. And the joke is like, and then the waitress is like, you guys with Hasutashi? And he's like, Dad, burn the turkey. Like Charlie's always just like having to speak up for his like failures. So then they go into the room of all the dads, the bad dads, like the divorcees, and one of them like holds up like an arm with a bandage. He's like, ooh, burn the turkey. And just like have a weird like have a weird Christmas moment, and then like they have dinner at Denny's, and this is when it gets really fun. So he drives them back to the house. They're like, he's about to go to bed. He like reads them the book, A Nightmare Before Christmas, or The Night Before Christmas, folks. Come on. He reads them Hollywood Wives before bed, and this is where the weird, like, so he basically, the reindeer up on the roof, and the Rose Such a Clatter Company. There are all these like puns that are like, why would this guy be on the roof, and like, why is there a ladder, and like, so basically Tim Allen's new job becomes Santa Claus. Like, he kind of inherits this job by basically the guy falling off the roof, and there's all these great, like, guy fell off the roof, not my fault. He immediately is like, is this gonna be like, are people gonna come after me for this? Like, he's like look at you, I live back to the mall. He's always just thinking that every Santa just exists like at the mall, which is basically true, but also it's like, you know, and so he basically, he takes the clothes, like, or like the guy's body disappears, and he's like, he must be naked somewhere. So he's basically just like doing, you know, everything he can to avoid making his son happy, which, like, I guess in this scenario, the only thing that would make his son happy is to like ride in the sleigh the whole night, which is kind of ridiculous. It's like, go to bed, Charlie, like, fucking you'll get toys in the morning, like, come on. But, you know, that's the Disney Channel, so they're not gonna fucking let you out so easily. So, you know, long story short, they go up on the roof, and he's basically like, you know, they're off. Like, he's like, let's go, and like, you know, he just doesn't want to, like, and he has a moment with Charlie where Charlie's like, why is everything I want to do stupid? And he's like, well, because you're a kid, and yeah, like, most things kids want to do is stupid. Like, you know, Tim Allen is just like, he's pretty much like that, but he's also like, you know, it's his last chance. Like, Charlie's basically 12 years old. He's about to give up on his dad. Like, that's really where we're at in Tim Allen's life. It seems it's really like he's got nothing going on for him. So, yeah, so basically the first night, oh, hey, people keep popping in. That's really fun. I'm doing this live, but I'm going to upload it later. So he delivers all the toys, and then he goes to meet, he goes to the North Pole, right? And, you know, that's like all the way up, you know, on a set in Burbank somewhere. I don't know. But, you know, it looks very expansive, and there's all these like reindeer actors that they got, and all these like kids or elves, but they're like 1,000 years old according to the mythology. And so he meets the head elf, Barabbas. He keeps calling him like Barnaby, like Branford, like, you know, he says, he calls him every name except for Bernard, which I guess is you know, is not obvious, but, you know, it's classic. It's Bernard. Hey, sport. And so basically Bernard has to explain to him the Santa Clause. It's like a contract. It's not just a name. And then, so he reads him the business card, and he's like, by putting on the jacket, you accepted the job. And it's like kind of like UPS or FedEx. Like, if you put on the shirt, or, you know, Five Below, you know, if you put on the shirt, you work there. It's kind of like the same concept with Santa Claus, honestly. It's like, you know, you just like, you did it once, like, you know, there's no really like background check. There's no training period. You're Santa now. And so basically the whole first night, you know, Santa has, or, you know, Tim Allen's like, this, I don't believe any of this shit. And then the next day he has to kind of like, his ex-wife comes home, and he has to basically explain to her, I don't know, I had a really weird dream. And so basically, Charlie starts to, we're back on planet Earth, and Charlie starts to tell everyone what happened and how amazing his Christmas was. And it kind of like makes him look really good, but then it also makes him look really like a little insane for like telling telling Charlie all these lies. What do you think, Al? Santas are made like Highlanders if you die. Santas are kind of made like Highlanders, Kyle. Yeah, it's very true. I love this. But yeah, so, and then, of course, like, he's wearing these, like, weird, like, red, like, silk pajamas, and he's like, oh, Judy gave them to me. She's the waitress at that restaurant. And she's like, some waitress gave you pajamas? Like, so the story just doesn't make any sense, realistically, even though we just watched it. And then, and Neil is ultimately just like, okay, Charlie, we'll talk about this at home. Like, he's like a psychiatrist. He's like doing like therapy on Charlie already, even though he's just a kid. So basically, it all, it starts to unravel. He starts to, like, his eating habits get really messed up. Like, he just like gains a ton of weight. And he shows up to work and clearly, like, you watch it now and you're like, oh, it's Tim Allen in a fat suit, eating like lunch in his office. But it's always like really funny how like it's like almost subtle because he still kind of looks like Tim Allen, but he's fucking really fat, and he's just like they play the Jeopardy music. He's like eating the ice cream. It's like, and he's like, he's like, all my clothes, like laundry fire, all my clothes poof. And he's like, she's like, well, why are you fat? He's like, bee sting. And so he just starts making up like all these crazy things. He's like, stung by a bee, Scott? A big bee. And so he's basically just like, and then he disrupts the meeting. He like keeps eating all these cookies. And then he basically, like, his boss is like, what the fuck is happening to you? So he's getting really, he shaves the beard. He shaves the beard a million times, and it keeps growing back. He shaves. He finishes like, and then it like just like goes way back to normal. He's like, I'm in big trouble. And then he goes to the doctor, and the doctor's just like, you're as healthy as a horse, and he's like, yeah, Clydesdale, and he like claps his stomach. He's like, so what's your diet like? He's like, milk and cookies, but I don't finish all the milk. He's like, there's your problem. And so he's just like, basically, he's Santa, because all Santa eats is milk and cookies, and so he's like, all of these are, the doctor kind of tries to explain away everything. He's like, well, your facial hair, it's a hormonal imbalance, and all these things that kind of like still don't make sense, but it's also like, why is he, having such a shift in, appearance? But basically, yeah, so it gets to a point where, like, they're at a, Charlie's soccer game, is like co-ed soccer game or whatever it is, and these kids just start lining up, and like, the girl's like, I just want some ballet slippers, and then like, the kid's like, I want a bicycle, or like whatever, like he's just like, being like the mall Santa at the park. And then that's when the parents basically start to basically, Charlie's, his mom and his new stepdad basically start to turn on Tim Allen. What was I going to say? Scott Calvin. And the whole other run of it is that, so basically he tries to tell Charlie to like, let's not maybe talk about this so much. And the whole time, like before that, there's a scene before that where he's like, Neil is just like, Neil always keeps like coming out, like, he's like, so why, like, he's like, how does one man in one night visit all the places in the world? He's like, I don't know. He's like, have you heard about that? Well, I haven't. And he like tries to like logically, what's up guys? So he tries to logically tell Charlie that it's not, possible. And basically Tim Allen is being Tim Allen, and he's just like, you got more important things to worry about. Like, where are you gonna get more weird sweaters when the circus pulls out of town? And he just zings Neil every time Neil is trying to like help. And Neil's trying to be like, maybe the dad is kind of crazy. which is amazing. That's such a great, like, it's a run that happens all the time. He's like, we don't want to keep Dr. Pinhead waiting. Christmas at the Pound. He just has like these endless like one-liners about what's it, the close talker from Seinfeld, the one who's like, hi, like like where he took like Jerry Seinfeld's parents to like the museum, and he's Elaine's boyfriend. It's that guy. Or what else is he in? The Beverly Hills Cop. He's the only Judge Reinhold who's not an actual judge. So that's the best. That's like one of the better runs of the movie, where just Tim Allen just like can't stand the stepfather. And basically, this kind of like culminates in a kidnapping, where it's like an abduction, where literally Charlie's gone. Charlie's like, it's like Thanksgiving of the next year, and Charlie's nowhere to be seen, which for a Disney movie, we're like, yeah, he's with his dad, and that's awesome. But like, realistically, for the parents, you're like, oh no, yeah, they should call the cops, and the cops should arrest Tim Allen. And this is really becomes serious, and so like it becomes like this whole like, there's the real cops, and like they're like, shouldn't the fake red beard and mustache give it away? Like, he's like, so there's like all these like wisecracking cops, and then of course there's the elf equivalent to that, the ELFS. We're like, what the ELFS? Like, or like, and they're just like, or there's like the weird British like elf who's like, time to call ELFS. And so basically they call like the flying elves, and they basically, so Tim Allen gets arrested at the house, at Charlie's mom's house, which is dumb. It's dumb that they went back there. Like, it's dumb, okay, in theory, him as Santa Claus, yes, it's great. Like, let's go back to mom and dad's house. But it's also like, yeah, if you're not aware of reality, all these cops are waiting there to arrest you. So once you're, come under, the tree, so he gets arrested. So Santa basically gets arrested, which is where technically the movie should have ended, because he shouldn't, but it's a Disney movie, of course, so he's not going to be for long. And so he basically goes to jail, and he's like interrogated in this one scene, where he's like, name Chris Kringle, name Santa Claus, name Paris Nicole. And then he just like bullshits his way. Who the fuck? Okay, anyway, so he is basically, he's basically just kind of joking still the whole time, even though it's a really serious matter. Like, he's in a police station and he's just fucking around. So right there, you should have been like, yeah, he's getting locked up again, which he did. He's back in the cell. But, of course, like, the guy at the desk is like just a fat, like a pudgy, like, you're the Calvin boy, and he's like eating like 6 donuts in every scene. And so you're just like, why, is he the only guy that, like, it's not a high security, it's not a high security prison, it's not a high stakes situation, it's a fucking town with jail with like 3, it's like a fucking Andy Mayberry jail, where like the fucking jail cell is like right next to the cop's desk. So they have these whole, like, basically Santa's like sitting in there, and he's finally depressed. He's finally like, oh, I failed everybody and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, like, Charlie and the ELFS pop in, man, and they tinsel, I didn't realize could, destroy rebar and like hinges. I didn't realize that was a thing, but it is. And, unbeknownst to me, that works. And so they just like basically rip the fucking door off, and and they save the day. They save Santa. And there's a really weird like core in this movie. So basically, yeah, Santa, gets off scot-free, but there's a really weird core of believe, like seeing isn't believing, believing is seeing. Like, you know, just because you don't believe in something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Like, there's all these like weird themes, which I guess have, you know, it's a lot of these early movies, and like Miracle on 34th Street, the Mara Wilson one, had that same thing where she was like, in God we trust, and like if we don't see God, but we believe in him, and that's the same thing as Santa. And so it's like the 90s, even with all the ass grabbing of the fucking secretaries, with all the slapping of the asses, all of that stuff, there was a lot of optimism for the kids, for, you know, Santa being real, and for, you know, there's a hope. And because like, so I'm gonna wrap up soon. These episodes are gonna be 30 minutes out, you know, in and out the door. And so basically, yeah, like a final thought, like the parents, like Charlie's parents, like the mom, like is like the lady from The Good Son. She's like Macaulay Culkin's mom, or no, his aunt, or his Elijah Wood's mom. And when Macaulay Culkin's like evil, that's another pod. But so yeah, she's the mom, and when she and Judge Reinhold have a scene where they're like, well, I stopped believing when I didn't get what I wanted for Christmas, and like Judge Reinhold actually is the saddest one, because he's like, I was 3 and it was an Oscar Mayer weenie whistle, and Christmas came, no weenie whistle. That like defines his life, his like sad life. That's why Judge Reinhold is like the way that he is. He's so like such a square as compared to Tim Allen. It's like, you know, it's kind of not a surprise why the mom got tired of Tim Allen. And, you know, Tim Allen was just too much, and he was just kind of like, you know, he always like had a quip, and he didn't have like the emotional fortitude to carry on a family. But he had enough to become Santa Claus, which I think is really the moral of the story. You don't have to actually be good enough to have a nuclear family, as long as Santa falls off your roof, right? You know? The guy fell, it's not my fault. So, yeah, that's a Santa Claus, man. The Santa Claus. The first one is amazing. The second and the third, they're fucking dog shit, and I'm never, like, I mean, I remember, like, even, like, the second one was bad. I'm just gonna touch on these, I'm gonna wrap up, but, like, you know, the second one was bad because they didn't even get, like, the kid back, like, they replaced him with the daughter. And the third one is just, like, why is Martin Short, like, Jack Frost, or what, some, like, ridiculousness. So it just got really more fantastic, not fantastic, but fantasy-based. This one was a little more like, you know, like he's like riding on the street, and like the truck driver is like, huh? And he's like, hey, if we hit I-94, like where do we go? And like the truck driver is like just like these very subtle, like based in reality type things. But the later ones were just, you know, dog shit. So basically the first one still holds up. And also, you know, Tim Allen, before I go, Tim Allen is having this, he's like, people are, like one of Tim Allen's, home improvement kids, like the oldest, the soccer playing one, like, he's gotten arrested. He's apparently like, you know, a terrible person, or he's just like an alcoholic, you know, same diff, but also just, yeah, Tim Allen's like, nah, you're on your own, buddy. And, you know, good on Tim Allen, man. He can't be saving his TV son from 20 years ago. So yeah, hopefully, you know, Dunstan checks in kid just, you know, keeps on the straight and narrow, because Tim Allen ain't bailing anybody out. Tim Allen already has a mugshot for cocaine back in the 80s, but you know what he did? He became Santa. So there's a lesson here that you can, if you apply yourself, you can go from, you know, dealing cocaine like Tim Allen did to being Santa Claus. There's Nicole. Love you guys. That was DEADASS NoCap episode 2, The Santa Claus.
No. Hey. Where you going from not here.